Hey y'all, this is Jennifer D with the Real Housewife of Texas, and I'm here with my husband Keno, and we are back, guys, for another wonderful episode of the Real Housewives of Texas. Um, I got a lot of fun things to announce today. We have a great topic for today, one that's kind of been discussed before amongst us and also just discussed in general, which I'm excited about. But anyway, today's topic is, are you out here building the perfect partner? And what we mean by that is, just like there's, the build a bear out there where you could actually build a bear, put it together how you want it, create it. Are people out here building the perfect partner? It's a question that a lot of people have pondered on, and we wanted to discuss that today. Um, and I'm just gonna start it out with so the reason that the conversation even came up is because we were talking with somebody that we know who is, you know, dating right now and actively, dating in a relationship, and they were discussing whether or not, or not necessarily whether or not, but like what they wanted in a partner. And one thing that I noticed, and I just want to mention, by the way, I like to mention, as I did in the introduction podcast, that I am actually a real life coach that specializes in relationships. So, relationship coach. I've been in the dating field for many years, and this podcast has allowed me to kind of branch off on my own and do my own thing and have a little bit more creative control, um, with still being able to be in touch with the dating field and, just the relationship world. So, so I've talked to a lot of people, had, numerous conversations about the topics, because one of the things that I used to have to do is gather information about what a person wants. And it can get very interesting because in a professional setting, when you are asking the person what they want, a lot of times people, you know, sometimes they get shy about what they're looking for. Like, they have an idea of what they're looking for, but sometimes they kind of get shy with the details and stuff like that. But, in the world of matchmaking, or, in the dating world where you're actually being set up with somebody, or that kind of thing, then it's important to be specific about what you want. Um, but when I say specific, not to be confused with being basically overly having that list. Because I would have people that knew what they wanted, but they had a list, and they wanted these things, these very specific things on their list. And I would try to make sure that they were open at the same time, though, in some areas, so that we can actually find you somebody that you want. Because the thing about it is, you're not going to get 100% most of the time of what you're looking for. The honest to God truth is that you're probably going to get about 80% of what you're looking for. That other 20% is going to end up being things that you may or may not have asked for, because again, it goes back to what I've talked about before, where we aren't perfect. So there is no perfect person. There may be a perfect person for you, but there is no perfect person out there. So, sometimes you're going to get that 80-20. So that's where this conversation kind of stems from. And So me and Keno have been we've been talking about that. We had this conversation many times before, and what I think, and so just to kind of kick off things, what I think is that a lot of times the specifying men here, I think that men are a little bit more aggressive about what they are looking for. Which what I mean by that is that they be out here building a woman, because and I think that goes back to why men cheat, because sometimes they're not satisfied with everything in that one woman. Now, I'm not saying that that can't happen, okay? So don't confuse that with what I'm actually saying. But what I am saying is that I think that's what drives men to cheat sometimes, is because they are looking for these qualities that they have in their head about the ideal woman. And sometimes they can't find all those qualities in one woman. So they like Angela for this, they like Pam for this, they like Sarah for this. And unfortunately, that's why sometimes they end up having two or three women that they're juggling at one time, because they're looking for, that specific thing. Um, Women are a little bit more, I think, willing to sacrifice a few of those things. So that's kind of what we were discussing. And what like from the perspective of what you think women are looking for, what would you say about that?
I don't know what they're looking for. That's a good question. I think the discussion kind of, well, we always talk about things from both our different perspectives and how we feel about stuff. Um, I told her I can understand where she's coming from with guys dating a multitude of women at the same time. Pretty much they're trying to find that woman that they're looking for. Um, Now, what I merely observe with women is that it's not necessarily that they're trying to build a man, but I guess it is that they are trying to build a man. They're trying to build him into what they want him to be. Like they see her whole thing that when we were initially having this discussion the other day was that a woman will take a man as is, and I told her I beg to differ, and the reason why is because at different stages in our life, requirements change, standards change. What you want or expect out of something changes. So I don't think as you get older, you're not just going to accept somebody the way they are versus your 20s, versus your 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on and so forth. So I feel like as that time changes, you're going to look at this relationship different. Yeah, when you're in your 20s, yeah, you're going to accept the guy or the girl as she is or whatever. But when you're in your 40s, you're going to be like, I'm going to expect you to kind of bring something to the table. So you're going to have some standards. You're going to have some ideas of what you want. But I think with her saying that men are trying to build a woman, I can see that
Yeah.
because you're taking qualities and traits that you like and you're hoping to find that in the one woman, but sometimes they go and try to find it in multiple women. And that's why, I've had buddies who have told me flat out that were in the past, they were like, yeah, I got a girl I date on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday
Yeah,
for
exactly.
for different things. But when I see women, and even of today with the modern age and everything, they're coming with standards. Like they want a man that can take them to certain restaurants or they can provide them with certain things off the bat. This is the first date. We not barely even having conversation, but I try to take all those things that I see with a grain of salt because my thing is if you're looking for a spouse, whether it's a woman, a man, or whatever the case is, you really got to find out during the course of that first date where that person is at. then that will let you know, do I want to continue with a second, third date or whatever, or establish a relationship? Because it's easy. I always tell people it's easy to say certain things in passing about what you want, what you are not going to accept, what are not the standards and stuff like that, and things that you would put up with. But for me, I guess just to keep this on a certain level of discussion, I see women's standards have changed over time.
Well, and I want to say this because I'm not talking about necessarily standard, because when we talk about standard, everybody has standards. But what I think, my personal opinion, is that women are a little bit more willing to maybe bend on some things versus men. I feel like men are a little bit more specific about what they're looking for, and when they don't find that, then they go try to find another woman.
Well, that's just a nature. That's just the nature of being a male anyway. We're more direct with what we want.
Like, for instance, with that, what I mean, like, is that, okay, so, I may be talking to a woman and she tells me that, she wants somebody that's between the ages of, 35 to 45. She wants a professional guy, so she, prefers somebody that is career oriented versus somebody that just has a job just that they're doing. You know, she may say that the guy, she would like for him to be, somewhat fit. But then a woman will turn around and say too, like, it's okay if he has a dad bod or something like that. So, when it comes down to actually matching that person, or, what they're out there looking for, and they're, going out and actively meeting people, if the guy is not necessarily, if she said that she wanted somebody that was a little bit more fit or something like that, but then she ends up meeting, Mark, and Mark has a dad bod. He don't really work out like that. So he doesn't necessarily have this muscular fit body. And maybe she did mention that in her quote unquote list of things that she was looking for. Sometimes sometimes women are willing to bend on that a bit. So if she likes the guy, then she'll bend on that. So he doesn't have to, be walking around here looking like Incredible Hulk. If he's got a dad bod, but he's got a good personality, he's career oriented within the age group of what she asked for, then she'll be willing to at least probably give that guy a chance and go on a date with him. Now, what I've noticed in my years of experience is that when it comes to the man, though, he's more specific about, especially about those physical features, to where if the woman's not really, quite the things he asked for, then he'll end up moving on to another woman because he's looking for those other things that he had on his list. So again, in the conversation Keno and I have had, that's where I think some of the cheating comes from. Because we were talking to a friend of ours the other day, and they were just mentioning that, they were in a relationship with somebody that they really, really care for and like, and that woman had a lot of what they were looking for, but there's a few things that she didn't have. And those few things that she didn't have is what he's continuing to look for, which means he's not satisfied with the one woman that he's got. And I've literally had friends of mine, or, people that I know tell me that, well, I'm just with her until, because what this woman has right now that they're dealing with is not exactly all of what they're looking for. So, they'll kind of hang out with this girl until they find the other things that they're looking for, which means they still entertain other women because they're looking for this specific thing. And like I said, that's where I think the cheating comes from. Whereas with women, I find that if they've got majority of what they're looking for, then they're willing to bend a little bit. They're not going to just start dating somebody else most of the time. Not saying that there's an exception to the rule, because there are women who cheat too, but you know, most of the time, if the woman likes the guy and he doesn't have a couple of the qualities of what she kind of would have preferred, then she'll be willing to still date that guy. So that's kind of what my that's what my angle is. When I'm talking about it. So, but I get what you're saying, Keno, about
We're just more specific, and I think the thing is, this becomes the issue when you are trying to establish a relationship. If you don't say what you want, who's at fault? Truly, you are. Men are very specific. It doesn't always come down to cheating and stuff like that. They may just move on to another woman and be done with you. Because some dudes will be like, I didn't find what I was looking for. So
right.
I fought more on the person, whether it's the man or the woman. I don't necessarily. I've seen. I guess for me, I've seen it enough to where I can say it's on both sides, to where people aren't willing to bend or compromise as much as you think. Maybe the people that you've encountered, that's what you've encountered. So that's what's become, like to say, whatever your perception is, your own reality, and whatever you've dealt with out of all the people that you set up. Because Jen used to deal with a dating agency, well, actually two dating agencies, and she would set up a lot of people. So this is where a lot of her background information is coming from. But I would tell her, when I'm sitting on social media or I'm watching YouTube or I'm watching TV, I'm merely observing where, like, we watch Black Love and what's the one with Uncle Tommy or cousin
Oh,
or
Ready
nephew?
for Love.
Ready
Yeah,
for
those are some
Love.
of the shows we would like
Yeah, we
watching.
watch Black Love, Ready for Love, and Ready for Love. You clearly start to see, and what I guess what I'm getting at is that what what I'm seeing with these people is that, yeah, it's good to say what you want, and if you don't, if I guess what when I hear Jen saying what she's saying, it's like you got 10 boxes that you want checked off. If he only checks 7 out of the 10, you're okay with that.
Right. Most women
and,
are going to
and,
do
and
that.
most women may do that. But today's standard, like I said, when I start seeing women get older, they get more particular. See, somewhere along the line, I don't know when that age, I don't know what age it changes, but those things, those specifics start to come in. And what I've noticed is that y'all list is a lot longer. That's probably why y'all okay. Because if you don't check all your boxes, because you got long, y'all list. Now, one thing that's different that I merely observe with men and women, our list is shorter because we only want so much from y'all anyway. We want a woman to do A, B, C, D, and E, F, G. Y'all want them to do A through Z, but then it's like he don't do all 26. He do like 23, and that's yeah. So yeah, I can agree with you and hear you out that women, yeah, they're willing to accept a man a certain way. Yeah, because your darn list is already so flipping long that yeah, you better be willing. And that is the conversation that I started seeing circulate under 5 years ago, is that y'all list can be too long, and sometimes men will look at you like, I'm not a unicorn guy. You're looking for a unicorn male or whatever, like this rare species that does not that now if anything, what I've observed in my men's circles and stuff like that, conversations that we've had, or things that I've seen, or conversations that I've watched a panel of people have, and maybe that's not always the best because sometimes that stuff is just in snippets anyway, and it's like they're going to give you the meaty part of the conversation, but they're not going to give you the entirety unless you go pull it up and then listen to an entire panel of discussion between men and women, or even men and women who on one side they agree, and then men and women on the other side of the disagreement, where they're basically having a debate about a conversation. But what I have noticed, like I said, I noticed that the list is long. I noticed that as women get older, their wants and needs change.
That's true. I'll agree
And
with that.
so when that changes, yes, that's going to make you. It's going to make you. It's just like in the dating world. I hear people say all the time, women swipe more, like pass dudes up because y'all options are a lot bigger than ours. Now, I have said in the past, and I will stick with that, that there are more women in the world than there are men. So that could be why women's selection gets a little bit tighter, whereas men are a little bit more selective, or I shouldn't say selective. They're a little bit more in the position where they feel like they got options. Because there's more women. There's like, for every male, there's probably 5, 6 other women. So it's like, oh, okay, she kind of tripping. I don't like the way she operates. She ain't really about her family, and she don't want to cook. She don't want to clean.
So he'll just move on.
So he'll just move on because
Whereas Pam,
it's not always about the dating the multiple women. Sometimes it's just, you know what, I don't see us going nowhere, or at least our differences in what we want out of life are different at this time. And that's why sometimes and I just trust me, I'm going somewhere with it. This is why sometimes you'll have women say, well, I dated him for X amount of years and then he met the next woman and he married her.
Right.
Because sometimes he ain't ready, and you may not be that person that he's ready with because he's not seeing enough out of you. And it's the craziest thing. I cannot explain it. I've had friends who got married at a certain age. It was like they were reaching a peak or a point in their life where they were just hitting that stride in their career. And I know this for sure, even being a male myself, we like to have things together. And then all we need is the woman to kind of fill in that spot. You know, like you put yourself on that picture and you see yourself next to her, or seeing yourself together at the altar together. But if a male can't, or if a man can't picture that, you're already not in his future. And I think that's the part that those conversations, like we said in like the first episode of communication, those are like some of the first conversations you need to have. I'm not saying marriage, but you need to start asking about future, because then you can kind of get an idea of what that woman may want or what that man may want. And that will become a quick deciding factor right there to say, okay, yeah, you're not what I want. That's how.
But see, typically women, will sacrifice. So,
but
like,
that ain't always good. That's the part. That's part of the problem.
And sometimes it's not,
and that's
because
why y'all go through the ringer stage where y'all go through all these ringers,
to get to that one.
Deadbeats and the clunkers. Like they used to call it the clunker. You got to try out a few vehicles before you get to the nice one.
Like they say, kiss a few frogs before you get to the prince.
But that's on y'all. We trying to find our queen. So we like, oh, you know what? She have a funky attitude. Bump. She don't cook. Bump. Or she don't do this. Bump. She don't like to clean up after herself. Ugh, you nasty. Or you got too many kids. It's like, if you're not, because some dudes, like I said, and she's right. Through life's observation, I've learned that you may not want to date that person or see a future with that person. But I've found dudes that were okay with a girl that had 5 kids. And it wasn't nothing off his back. But he saw her in his future. He saw her children in his future. So he was willing to accept that. So
but she must have had what he was looking for.
She definitely had something. And
he was able to
look past all that stuff.
Look past
the
children
I think,
thing.
like I said, I don't think it's just merely saying, oh, women accept you the way you are. I think it's different stages in our life that we go through, and how, just like you even said, when you were at the dating agency, you would find some older people, they would older, and generally older men, if we were talking about specifics, they would want a younger woman because they've already gone through the trials of life, and they're like, listen, if I try to date a woman my age, I know what she gonna come with. I know she gonna ask for this, and this, and I don't want to do that no more. I'm not giving those things up anymore. I gave that up in my relationship, or I gave it up in my marriage that was an X amount of years. Some people go backwards. Now they just want to have fun.
Yeah, and most of the time when you had those men that were older like that, that is what they wanted. Like they didn't really care what the woman did for her career or, things like that. They just wanted a beautiful woman because
That's
at
it.
this point in his
I'm ready to have
career,
fun.
he's settled. He's
He done
got,
got his, he done had his career. He about to retire.
right. So his money's set up. He's not worried about,
I
the
just got out
woman
of this
bringing in an
relationship that was
income.
20 plus years.
Yeah.
So now I don't
Now
want to
he
do that
just
stuff
wants
no more.
somebody that look good on his arm
That's it.
and that he can go out
I
and
mean, it's
have
not the
fun
best
with.
formula, but because I've seen it work, but it's a small percentage because after a while your age show up at the front door and you like, because I'm getting closer to 50, I can't see myself being with no 20 plus year old. I got sisters in their age, so I'm just like,
And I would try to encourage those guys that thought like that, like, Bill, I need you to think about this. Like, are you, you know,
but that
because
one dude tell
if you
you flat
get,
out, I don't want nothing but what he tell
well,
you?
he was about, 56, and here he is looking for women talking about he'll go for somebody that's like late 20s, early 30s. And
Right.
I'm going like, Bill,
But he only wanted he
you
only wanted
guys
a
are
couple
in two
things from her.
different wavelengths of life here.
Yeah.
Like she's gonna probably get to a point where she's
She
gonna
gonna be
get tired of you.
Yeah.
You know,
Because you ain't gonna be able to, you're gonna poop out at parties instead of pop out at parties. Because
right?
you're gonna get, the sun goes down, and as the sun goes down, we get tired now.
But you know what he told me? He said he don't care.
He don't
didn't
care.
care. He wanted somebody
He wanted
beautiful.
what he wanted, and he knew that he had the money.
Yep.
He knew he had established himself. He knew he had the home. He had security. He
He had
the
all
cars.
that. So all he needed
He
was
could take on
her
vacations.
to look how he wanted her to look, and
I
he didn't
think
care about
that's-
nothing
I
else.
think that's where kind of like what you're saying at the beginning of this conversation. Why men do
Build a woman.
because we have options. Once we have money, once we've established a home, security, we close to retirement as far as our funds. That stuff is stacked up. You can be there in your mid 40s and your 50s. And so now I got options because I know some woman out there is going to want me for where I'm at right now, and she's okay with it. And yes, the gut is okay. Yes, the dad bod is okay.
Yeah, see, they kind of,
because that's something you can overlook because it's like, oh, but Bill got a gut, but Bill can take me to vacation over in Hawaii or France or wherever country I want to go that I've never been, Dubai, whatever. Never been there before. Guess what? Bill gonna take me there because Bill's a millionaire. And most millionaires, if you notice, like you said, they got the eye candy. They look like gargoyles or mutants, but because they worked hard, they sowed their seeds, they planted. Now they have this beautiful harvest. They got this one person who want to come in at the finish line. And yes, unfortunately, like we talked about in the last episode, that does become a distracting factor for men. Is that I've established myself, I've built this life for myself, and I don't know if my current partner that I've been with for X amount of years want to continue on this ride. So now they're getting distracted and they start thinking about other opportunities over there. So yes,
and that's when that grass start looking greener on the other side.
But you don't see the poop over in the yard, so that's why you do look at that stuff and you think that's what's next, and it really isn't. You're supposed to be entering the next chapter in your life with your spouse and continue on. But just getting back to the main thing at hand is that I have started to notice, and the reason why I even say what I say about women's not only standards, and I know you're not really using the word standard, but acceptance has changed, is because the work field has changed. Women are now on a different playing field. Women are out educating men now. So that means they're going out getting their bachelor's, their master's, their doctorate now. So now they're making competitive salaries. So now they're looking at things on a certain level field, certain playing field. So now they're opening their own businesses. Whereas 20, 30 years ago, it was more of us as far as men dominating those spaces. But now women are taking over those spaces. And some of them are doing it far exceedingly better than what we are. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's still that competitive nature, but there are also that recessive side where some women are okay with their man making more or making less than them, as long as we have an established relationship where we can communicate, where we can enjoy each other, have great sex, and all that other stuff that comes together. But then you do see some women start to elevate, and they don't look back. Men elevate, and we do look back, meaning they look back at the women that are at a different level in their life, and they're okay with that. We don't need you to match where we're at, because that ain't what I'm looking for. I ain't looking for a woman to make the same amount of money as I am. I don't care if she is making more, but I wouldn't look for a woman that's making less. I don't care if the woman's making less than me,
Yeah,
because
because we actually have like hypothetical questions about stuff, and that's one of the reasons that we decided to do a podcast is because we do literally sit here and talk about hypothetical things all the time. I mean, just we could be watching something and it'll spark up a conversation, and we'll start talking about having this whole hypothetical conversation about whatever subject at hand. And one of the hypothetical questions I've asked him before is, let's say I die and, you're back out there in the dating world. Would you care about what type of salary the woman makes or, anything like that? Like what would be your things that you're looking for on your list? And he told me that he wouldn't care what kind of job she had. Like he don't care about what kind of career
because
she
my money
has.
is my money, your money is your money, and my money ain't definitely your money, not anymore.
What
I
you mean by that?
well, I'm saying that unless we get married, which I don't. I already told you I wouldn't want to get married again. That was not. I'm saying if I wouldn't care about her lifestyle, like how much money she's making, because that's her money. Whatever she do with that, don't mean that I'm not the traditional guy that's not going to pay for everything. Like if we go out, of course it's a given. I'm going to pay, or if we go to wherever we go to trips or whatever, I'm going to pay. But
But you wouldn't feel like you had to date somebody that made a certain salary,
no,
basically.
no,
Okay.
no.
Yeah.
Because more so, and this is the part that sometimes, and this is a good conversation because women need to know that men are not looking at your job. We don't care about your money. A dude that do care about your money, you might want to keep pushing. I don't know, because if he's looking at your money, then he probably is just a person that's more fixated about money than relationship. And the only why I say that is because typically a male is looking for certain characteristics.
Qualities.
Thank you. Qualities, attributes, personality. Like, can I take you around my family? Your salary ain't got nothing to do with your personality when it comes down to that. That comes down to, do you have any class? Are you uncouth? Are you a fool? It's like, I shouldn't have to, after a certain age, I shouldn't have to work on you. You should already kind of come. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You should already kind of come. And that's what we're more so, we're looking at how you keep yourself, how you keep your hair, your nails, your makeup, your face. I know dudes that like sporty chicks, so they don't care about that. They don't care if they have makeup or not. I do. I've always liked pretty girls. I've always liked them. And when I say pretty, that just means they like to wear makeup. They're very colorful. They have a very lively personality. They're easy to get along with. Those are the things that I be looking at. I don't care how much money you making or not making. I don't care if you live in a 1-bedroom on the east side or the south side or wherever. Because I know that if I'm establishing something with you, none of that matters. Because if we don't connect, I'm not worried about I don't care if you're a teacher or you own your own business.
And see, it is a little bit different for women in that sense because, especially nowadays, modern day women, a lot of them are looking for, somebody that is established, you know.
Yeah.
I would say majority of women are, there's the occasional women though that, I guess it also depends on where you're at in life. Are you just now building yourself? Are you an early dater where, you just finished college and you're,
Yeah.
not quite where you want to be just yet.
Right.
You might be okay with a guy that, kind of like when we got together,
Yeah,
neither
that's
one
what
of
I
us
was gonna say. Most of the couples that you've seen together for a long time, they linked up early on. They linked up.
And they built
They linked up
together.
when people paths was crossing each other. Like I just finished college, or I just started in corporate America. So did I. Or we both done got our degrees, and now we're moving on to in the corporate America. Or we both have a kid from separate relationships. So we have something mutual that we can understand. It's it's almost like a balance or a level playing field when you're coming in. When you have those kind of situations, then it makes it easier for the growth to happen
It does.
together.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say too, is that when you do have those kind of situations, those relationships I see, they kind of last a little bit longer
Yeah,
because they don't have as many obstacles in the way. They
yeah,
grow together,
yeah,
like you and I did. We
yeah,
both got together because we got married when we were, pretty young.
yeah.
So both of us was just getting established.
Right.
But we had all these dreams and aspirations of what we wanted to do, and we discussed that. And, so we kind of both knew where we were going to be what we were going to be reaching for,
Yeah,
but we weren't quite there yet.
yeah,
But we were, making steps towards these goals that we had.
yeah. I've seen
So,
I've seen couples even though they coming in together at the same level, they get competitive.
yeah, we remember we knew
I
that
was
one
going to mention the
couple.
couple.
Yep,
Yeah,
we had a
they
one couple that we
and
knew
it
knew
and that turned disastrous
they
because it
actually
was
got
like,
divorced.
well, I'm not surprised
Mm-hmm.
because once you don't see your partner as a partner and you see them as more of an opponent or a competitive situation, like I'm in this to get further than you type situation, then y'all no longer are linked. Now the link is broken.
Yeah, and I
And
think competitiveness in a relationship in that regard, as far as trying to outdo each other, that's never gonna make it in a relationship.
yeah,
Fun competition about
right.
who can outstep each other. As far as I've got 100 steps today, you got 25. That's different.
Yeah,
But when it comes to like out trying to do each other in life,
yeah.
that's not good substance for a relationship. But a question that I kind of want to pose to everybody out there that's listening is like, do you think that you have to sacrifice your standards to find what you want? Because I've had a lot of people ask me that, like, does that mean that I have to sacrifice the standards that I have just to find what I want? I don't think so. Everybody, has standards of what they're looking for, or, maybe they've got core values about what they're looking for. And it doesn't mean that you can't find those standards in that one person. Um, but what we say when we're talking about, are you out here building the perfect partner is, are you throwing bits and pieces of three or four people to meet what you're looking for um, in this one person? Uh, you know, because the thing is, again, you're not going to probably get 100% of what you're looking for. Something is probably going to be sacrificed, and that's okay, because over time that person will that whatever it is that you're looking for that might be part of that 20%, maybe they'll come into that later, or maybe they won't, but you might also be missing out on somebody that might be perfect for you because you're out here looking for that 100%, um that's a challenge that I used to have. One of the biggest challenges that I had in being in the matchmaking field, or the dating world, was getting people to realize that you can miss an opportunity if you are coming in with that very specific list and you're checking those boxes off, and you're looking to check every single box on that list. Some people came in with that kind of mentality, and those type of people are not going to ever get what they want, because again, you're not going to find 100% of those boxes to be checked off. There's going to be something that you're probably going to have to make a sacrifice on, but does that mean that person can't develop those things later, or that doesn't mean that. But you gotta, what I used to tell people is that sometimes you gotta kind of get rid of that list in a sense. Have your standards of what you're looking for. That's fine. We all have standards of what we're looking for, or our core values, but you're gonna have to ditch that list when you, especially if you're looking again to check off all the boxes. There's going to be something that he doesn't meet, and if you don't do that, then you could be missing out on the perfect person for you, because you're overlooking something that might be not even that important, so because like when I met Keno, some of the things that was on my list was, is this guy, I mean, for me, I needed to be with somebody that at least knew about God, because I am a spiritual person, and I need you to, I wouldn't be able to date an atheist, because that's not how I grew up, and that's not part of my values. So I need you to at least know about God, right? So I don't want to be, I shouldn't have to teach you about God. Okay. That, I mean, and this is just me personally, but that's something that was important to me, because I knew how I wanted to raise my son. So that was going to be important. Another thing was family values. Family values is extremely important to me, because I come from a very big family. And, my grandparents had, initially they had 12 kids. One died at birth, is what I was told. So 11 children were living. So, and those 11 children went on to have big families themselves. So you can kind of imagine how big my family is. So coming from a big family like that, I didn't need you to have a big, huge family yourself, but I needed you to be able to be a part of a large family. Because what does that mean? We're going to be doing functions together. You're going to be seeing family a lot, because we like to do stuff together. So family values was really important and very high on my list. And then as far as like physical attributes, or I didn't really so much have real specifics on that. People do tend to tell me that it seems like you have a type. Um, I just like guys that are a little bit more studious, can, have good conversations. I definitely would not be able to date a guy that's not very, intelligent. Um, that he just wouldn't hold my interest long enough, because I have to have somebody that I can have like stimulating conversations with and stuff like that. And if he's not, intelligent and doesn't have, intelligent conversations that we can have, I'm probably not going to be interested in that guy. So that was something that was important to me too. As far as physical attributes, um, I wasn't real specific about that. Like, you don't have to be a model for me, because your qualities was more important to me. How do you treat a woman? Um, how do you treat your mother? How do you treat the women in your life, your grandmother, your mother? Those things are important to me, because that's going to tell me what kind of man you are. Um, so things like that is more so what I was looking for. I do prefer guys that, in my dating in the past, before I met Keno, I wanted someone, because I'm a short woman. I'm 5'3". So I was always attracted to men that were very tall, because I, was attracted to something that's opposite of me. But, Keno's not a real tall guy. So I didn't know what God had out there for me necessarily, but I knew what I was asking for and praying for. So I wasn't real specific about the whole tall thing or not. I mean, like I said, I'm more attracted to taller men typically, But when I met him, he was a little shorter than most of the guys that I had dated, but he had all the attributes of what I was looking for. So able to overlook the height. So therefore, that's what I'm saying about the list. You sometimes you can really overlook that right person for you because you walking around with this list and you're looking to check all these boxes off of your list, but it's like, you have to be willing to bend on some things, because maybe the guy that's out there for you, that's designated for you specifically, um, he may not have some of those things that you have on that list. So you kind of have to be open, So I mean,
I'm
you
just
you
I'm
laughing?
listening.
What are you thinking?
No, I'm just listening. It's always interesting, and that's why I said those initial conversations are the things that have to happen, because then that's when the overlooking can begin to happen, because you're like, okay, I see what you bring to the table. Because my conversation was always about having a plan and then following through with that plan. Did you have goals? Do you have aspirations, dreams, and wants and needs, you know, of your own? Not of more so what I want, but what you want. Because I needed to see that you saw a future for yourself, and those things were like foundational. That's something I could build on. I'm like, okay, you're working on going back to school to get an education and further your career, and those kind of things are like, okay, well, we're building here, because that's the same thing that I'm trying to accomplish here. So I'm trying to pick up where you're at, or at least see where you're at. But if I couldn't see that, and for whatever reason, like you said, I think too is the other conversation that we have to get into is that sometimes after bad relationships, bad breakups, that makes people even tighter with their list, and that makes people
Yeah.
even more so like, you know what, I ran into that with the last girl or last guy. Now I don't want to deal with that stuff. But I also look at it as a good thing. So it's a double-edged sword, because yeah, it do scar you a little bit, but it also make you a little bit more alert and aware. We cannot ignore things. Like she's saying, it's okay to say, okay, I'm willing to look past this or compromise in this area, but don't compromise on something that you clearly see as a red flag. Like,
Right.
there's potential issues from this person's past. Like, if they done flat out told you, they can get upset or burst into anger, and they haven't gone to anger management or treatment for that, or they haven't learned how to work through that on their own with some sort of techniques, so that it's not an issue. We should be talking about it like a past thing at this point. But if it's something that is apt to happen, like their last relationship said, yeah, you were a little too explosive, or you were terrible about spending your money, or you crashed the car a lot, or you got a lot of tickets, or it's the stuff that you shouldn't ignore
Yeah.
just to be with the person,
Right.
and then you're upset later on because you continuously ignored the things, and now it's a real problem.
And ladies, we can't do that. We cannot. That's now. You know, when we talk about this building a man or building a woman, or are you building the perfect partner? Now that's something that's very serious for me in the conversation. Is again, especially as an expert, there are your non-compromisables that, or even non-negotiables that shouldn't be negotiated. And ladies, we like I said, we do tend to sacrifice a little bit more, I think, than men do, as far as our what we're looking for. We may be willing to bend a little on this, but there are some very specific things, as like I said, an expert, that I would say do not bend on. You know, do not bend on a guy that is explosive, and a guy that has significant anger issues that he has not worked through. because if he's not going to be willing to change that in the relationship, it's not going to do nothing but continue to persist, and it could even grow into a bigger situation. So if that's on your, non-negotiable list, keep that as a non-negotiable, because I don't abuse is something that I don't take lightly. I've been in a relationship like that before, and that's something that, if they're not willing to work through that, there's no need for you to even waste your time in that situation, because it's not going to change. It's just going to grow.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen is that you're going to start getting used to it. You're going to get used to the abuse. You're going to get used to those patterns. And the longer you stay, the more, willing you are to just overlook it. And before you know it, you're going to look up and you're going to be in a 10-year abusive relationship. That's not acceptable. That's never acceptable. So, again, as an expert, that's something I would say you don't need to be dealing with. And the same thing with men. I'm not just, saying just to the ladies. I mean, I feel like ladies do tend to compromise on things like that. Well, Craig was just a little bit angry every now and then, but I'm willing to work with that. No, you don't work with that. That's nothing to work with, especially if Craig's not trying to get no counseling for whatever issues he's got. Because most of the time, if he's angry and he's got anger issues like that, to the level of abuse, there's something internally going on with him that he has not worked out yet. And that's a non-negotiable, because again, if he's not willing to work on that, and he needs to be working on that on his own, like, he needs to already have been working on that before he got into anybody's relationship to begin with, because you're not relationship ready if you haven't worked on those things.
Yeah.
If you're thinking that you could still walk around, hit women, or verbalize, be verbally abusive to women and stuff like that, you're not relationship ready. You still got some things that you need to work out. And again, same thing for men that are dealing with that from women. That should be a non-negotiable too. I know a lot of men that have been in abusive relationships as well, and it's not nothing that's up for debate. If they are, haven't showing those traits or showing those red flags, then you need to leave that relationship,
Yeah.
because it's probably not going to change. Like I said, it's a different story if they're willing to work on those things. But again, I feel like, those things need to be worked out before you call yourself getting into a relationship with somebody.
Yeah. You got to just got to be mindful of not being so quick to rush into a relationship just because you want to have a spouse or you want to have a partner. Um, Jen and I have talked about in the past how the woman would meet a man at the bar and then all of a sudden he got moved in. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, did you get to know the person? And, keep in mind that if you have kids, you are bringing this person into your environment.
Yep.
And so, and it's the same thing with men, they sign up to be with the woman right away. And so it's like you got the extreme of jumping right in head first with no water in the pool. And then you got some people who are a little bit more cautious because they've been through some situations, and so it's made them. That's where the list came from in the first place. But yeah, it's. I don't honestly. I mean, with the conversation at hand, I don't see nothing wrong with building a person in your mind, but you shouldn't. You try not to do it because, like I said, when I was dating, I did that. I didn't know it. It was more of a subconscious thing. I wasn't intentionally trying to build my wife. It just happened. It's like when you're dating, you start finding out things that you don't like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like when you finally do move in with your partner, you realize, oh, I don't like it when people move my stuff around, and I didn't ask you to do that, or I don't like it when I don't like it when you do this, or leave this out, or you don't put this up, or you don't clean this up when you're done. It's the little things that you begin to understand, or stuff that you start to see. you learn about yourself, and that's where the building does come from. It's more of an internal subconscious thing, but you start to say to yourself, okay, I know I can't deal with somebody who, like she said, core values. If your core values are not the same, that's that's a non-negotiable, because you really compromising at that point on your own. If you get outside of those boundaries, of course, how somebody treats somebody, how somebody respects someone, how they conduct themselves with or without you around, that stuff means something to the
Right.
relationship. So it's important, and yeah, it's really nothing wrong with it, but I think the initial part of the conversation is that really where this kind of came from is that men think that they can date multiple women so they can get all that they want all at once.
Right. That exactly.
And
That's
so when
exactly
you
what we're
when
talking
you do
about. Hmm.
that, it's really not fair to the women because you're stringing them along. And so what has happened, just like with things evolving over time, now women are starting to do it because they're like, hey, I'm tired of being duped. I want to have a dude. The lady flat out said, I have a man take me out for breakfast, I have a man take me out for lunch, and I have a man take me out for dinner.
Yeah.
Three
Some
different
women are doing
guys.
that too nowadays.
Because now they're like, well, it's being done to me. Why I can't do it? Like, so it changes. And the unfortunate part is that no relationships get established because now, once that's done to you, you really can't look at the next person as an opportunity for a setup to be in an actual relationship. Or if you do put your feelings out there and you really do want it, this person's still in the playing field right now. They're not looking at you as a true relationship because now they building or they're still playing or whatever the case is. Where it's and that goes back to what we were saying earlier about meeting a person where they're at and hoping that y'all both paths cross together and link up at the right time and saying, yeah, I can see us going together, going forward together.
And
And
I think the main thing is that that communication needs to be there too, because sometimes it might be something that the person doesn't even know this is what you want. You may have
right,
not have
I'm looking to
articulated
get
that.
married. I don't want to just
Yeah.
date right now. This is not just a
And because she wasn't doing this one thing or talking in that
right.
direction, now you done moved on to the next person,
Right.
whereas
So
you've never
it's
really
that's why it's
communicated that
important.
to
It
her.
is important to communicate that, like from the beginning. Like maybe so many dates in, you don't want to scare nobody off and say, "I'm looking for my wife." On the first date, the woman gonna think you crazy. She gonna be like, "Okay." Now she might, in return, say, "Yeah, I'm looking for a husband," but that don't always happen. That's not always the ideal situation. You do kind of have to slide that in a little bit gracefully, but you do let them know, hey, I've dated for X amount of years and I haven't found my wife yet, but I am in the process of looking for my wife.
Yeah, I think it's okay to tell them what your dating goals are. Like, am I out
I
here?
guess that's what the thing is.
Yeah,
You
am I
gotta
out
tell
here
people,
dating to date, or
like we talked about before,
or am
are you
I
just dating
dating?
today?
Yeah,
Are
or
you
am
just
I looking for something more?
that's where the building really starts. And so, and like I said, yes, I can say, like I said before, I've had buddies, I've had coworkers tell me flat out they like this girl because she is this type of girl for him. He liked this girl because she could do this, and he liked this girl because she could do this. But rather than find, like she's saying, find what you need and want out of one woman and being okay with that. Because the real trick is, and this is the real trick, you end up finding yourself out there by yourself. I'm just saying. Because if you keep playing that game thinking that, oh, you know what, Lisa kind of had what I wanted, now let me go talk to Tina. But eventually your rep starts to precede you, and they like, girl, he ain't playing nothing but games. So you're going to get more clicks or hang up, whether they're going to hang up on you or they're going to disassociate themselves from you. And then eventually you're going to find yourself by yourself because you can't keep playing this game and don't think that, because the way that the world works is that you can't be deceitful with your actions. You got to be truthful and forthright about what you're doing.
Up front, yeah.
Yeah, because if you keep putting that type of energy out there where you're using and basically abusing people, not physically, but just using them to a point where they're putting out their feelings and they're wanting to establish something, and you kind of playing the field and you're not really serious
And then you're cheating yourself
out of an
for
opportunity,
out of the
out of a
opportunities
great
to get what
opportunity.
you
And
really want.
now the person done moved on, and that's why you do find people get out of a relationship. A woman was in a relationship with a dude for 5 years who was stringing her along, and then the next guy she marries him because he ends up being right along with what she needs. She
Mm-hmm.
realized, oh, I was just with a boy. Because most of the dudes, if they're really serious about getting married, they're not going to play as boys anymore. And this is probably a whole nother discussion, but this is why I don't really believe in long engagements. I mean, a year or two, I hear you, but when you get out there at 5, I'm like, 5 for what? What do
Mm-hmm.
you already know this person at this point? Are y'all living together? Y'all sleeping together?
And remember, we would like read market studies on that, and the thing about
Oh
it
yeah,
is,
the longer
the
you
longer
wait,
you sit there and have a
the
longer
quicker they're gonna have a
engagement,
divorce,
then they
or they don't even get married.
right. We've known people that they had a 10-year engagement,
And I'm
and
like,
so
you
they've
just
been
putting a
and
ring
they
on
and
so you
they've
can
been
string your
living
girl
together for
along.
10 years, and then so now they actually finally do get married, and after a year they're divorced.
Yeah, because a majority of the relationships where it gets down to talking about getting married, the decision making is from the man, because we're the ones that reach out and say, I'm ready to now I want to get married. And then you, of course, you do the proposal. A woman may have alluded to it, or she may put it out there, and she may even say, "Yeah, when we're gonna get married," type thing. But really, the man does it. And so, if you don't establish that in a certain period of time, like reasonable period of time, then now, yes, you are stringing that person along, and yes, eventually that person will get tired of being strung along because they're gonna say, "Okay, you're not really serious about this," because they need security, they need to follow through, they need to know that you are a man of your word, and if you're not establishing just those small things, I'm not saying there ain't other things, because I know there's other things that come along with it, but they're going to look at that because your actions are going to speak louder than your words. They're like, why do we keep stringing this along? Why we haven't established a date when we're going to get married? And so it's like, do you want to get married? And some dudes will get engaged just so they can keep the woman around. And I'm like, that's crazy. But they really, and this is where we do, and I have to say, as a male, this is where we do get the bad rep, because we do stuff like that by not just saying, you know what, I got engaged to you so I can still have you in my life because I knew you were ready for the next step. You weren't just wanting to date.
Mm-hmm.
And some people will tell you, I don't want to just date anymore. I want to move on. I want to be done. I don't want to play the dating game no more. I want to have my partner.
Yeah.
So
But you don't want to get there and then start compromising either. You don't want to start feeling desperate to where you do compromise again those non-negotiables that you have. So okay, I do have a feature question. I wanted to make sure we address this. Thank you so much, by the way, guys out there. I just want to take stop for just a second and say thank you so much for everybody that has been tuning in to the podcast. Like I said, we have big visions for this channel. It's going to go places. I know that. I've spoken that into existence. And, it's gaining pretty good traction, and we're excited about that. So we've got some new features that we have added in, just to continue to, cultivate that growth. And I'll mention that here in a second. But thank you so much for those that have been giving comments. We want to hear those comments. We want you guys to tell us what you like about it. Tell us what you don't like, what you think we can change, stuff like that. We like the feedback, and we're not shy about feedback. But keep those questions coming, rolling in. We've been receiving questions. The question I chose for today to be featured on the topic is had someone who asked or posed the question. Um, well, let me kind of say it how they mentioned it. I get hit on a lot by guys, but it's guys that I don't find attractive. You know, not all the time are they attractive, but I do get hit on a lot. So their question was like, do I need to start settling? Because I'm getting hit on by a lot of guys, but the guys that I'm getting hit on, they're not the ones that's to the level of attraction of what I'm looking for. So,
That's
like,
a,
what's up? Do I need to
that's
settle?
hilarious.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. Like, do I need to
No,
start settling
I
or
mean, my
what?
knee jerk reaction would be no. I mean, because we already know that men are usually the initiators
The
and the
pursuers.
pursuer. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you. We the ones that make the engagement happen, or we the ones that pursue. So, and you gotta remember, you can't make a shot you never have taken. So men always gonna try to shoot their shot. That does not mean and sometimes people, this is just from just the surface level of just giving a little bit of advice here. Just because you get hit on, don't take it the wrong way. Just understand that there are dudes out there that's just coming up to you because they find you attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes men can be a little delusional and they think, oh, you know what? No, she's out of their league. Like, because men have this conversation with each other. We'll be like, dog, I have conversations, very candid conversations with my friends, with my colleagues, and I will tell them, dog, you got to step it up, man. If you looking for a certain woman, come on now. You ain't even doing X, Y, Z. I need you to get your gear, get your clothes together, make sure you look good. I said, the one thing I try to establish with the dudes that I talk to that are trying to find somebody, or at least looking, or at least trying to put out, I said, you have to always be presenting yourself.
Right. Well, it's
Always.
the same thing for women too.
I mean,
Like,
yeah, of course with
be
women,
date ready.
but
Be
to go back to the lady thing, girl, don't take no offense, or don't think too much of all these rando dudes hitting on you, because dudes naturally are going to want to pursue you,
right.
even if they ain't got no game. They ain't even together. They don't look well. Their hair ain't cut. They don't see themselves. That means you truly haven't seen yourself. Because if you looking at the woman in front of you, that's why I even tell people. I said, well, this is what I used to tell Jen, and I still tell her. I said, most of the dudes that would hit on her, they knew they had to come to her a certain way. Didn't mean that they still didn't look at themselves and think, oh yeah, I got a shot. But they knew that this was a certain caliber of a woman. They were like, they still gonna try. Because men naturally, we want to try to at least see. There's something she may see in me that, like, hey, she'll give me her number. It may not be the right number, but it'll be her number. So we're going to hit on you. So you can't take. You can. I mean, if you get amused by it, or if you get flattered by it, great. Because then that can let you know that you are still looked at. You are still valued in this world. There's nothing wrong with that. But when the number starts to get high, don't get too hurt by, or don't think too much of it. That's really what I'm trying to say. Don't think too much of it, because men naturally, if it's 100 dudes that come up to the gas station when you up there, about 90 of them gonna try to hit on you. It's just going, especially if they see you by yourself, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, let me see if I can go over there and try to get her number. And it's like, dude, you ain't even presentable. But it don't matter. Whereas women coming up to dudes, it's a very rare thing. So when it does happen,
Men
dudes will
get
be
flattered
like,
by it.
we get flattered.
Mm-hmm.
And we be like, okay, all right. We're discombobulated at that point. But yeah,
Yeah, so she was just basically saying, like, she is getting hit on by a lot of guys.
yeah,
But
You
Unfortunately,
still play the field and
they're
sort it
not
out.
what she wants.
Yeah, cut the fat out. You got
So
to cut the
she's
fat out.
like, should I start, kind of compromising here? Is
Yeah,
that what
no,
that
don't
means?
compromise. Don't compromise because it's just. I'm telling you, if it was 1,000 guys, probably about 5, 6, 700 of them would have probably tried to holler at you because in our mind, you always got to take an opportunity to shoot your shot, especially if you're single and you looking for a lady and you just see her by herself because you don't watch her go into the store. She done came back out and got a little gas and got her snacks. And if a dude is like, and I've seen dudes kind of like subtle, they try to approach now from a distance because most of these dudes now they're afraid of making the girl fully aware that this random person has come up to them. So I wouldn't. I would still hold your ground, stick to your core values, make an assessment of the dude that's trying to hit on you because if he don't take care of himself, and you know that's one of your things.
And that's the thing I'm saying is that that would be my advice again as an expert is make sure that you are pursuable, you know, which means are you taking care of yourself? Are you again date ready? Meaning that I'm just not out here just if you're looking to meet somebody, then when you go out, you need to be date ready. And I know sometimes we're gonna be going to the grocery store and we're gonna throw our hair up in a messy bun and run, to the grocery store or whatever. I'm not saying that there's times where you aren't gonna be presentable in a sense of sometimes you do just throw on something, because you're just doing a store run or something like that. But be pursuable, be the type of woman that's has something to offer, I guess is what I'm trying to say. um what do you bring to the table? Know what you have that you're bringing to the table too. So, but yeah, to get back to her question, no, you don't need to settle just because you're noticing that you're getting all these options, but it's not what you're wanting.
Right.
Just continue to date and be open.
It's all about quality, not the quantity.
Right. Right.
Because you're going to get, women naturally, and I think a lot of women don't realize that, is that, and that's really what I was getting at, is that men create the illusion of quantity. And what you have to do is learn how to filter it out, cut out the fat, and find the quality. Are these quality dudes that that's hitting on you? If they're not, just continue to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Pass the buck and keep moving because good and well your intuition is telling you this is gonna be a waste of my time. It's gonna be a hot, stinking mess, and it's a waste of my time. And as you get older, you really start to focus in on those things.
Yeah, and that's the last thing you want to do, especially women, is waste our time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
women don't want to waste their time. It's like it's of the essence. It's too precious.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't get too moved by a bunch of dudes hitting on you because it's gonna happen. It don't mean you're ugly. It don't mean you're cute. It don't mean you're fine. It don't mean you're alright. It just mean that guys, we see women. Period. We're gonna try to shoot our shot, and then the crazy part is this is why you don't want to get too moved by it, because if you reject him, he probably gonna wait 5 minutes later for somebody else to pull up at the gas station and hit on her.
And that's definitely what happens.
Yeah. Or they'll try to act like I need some gas money. Hey girl, can I get your number? It's like, boy, you just asked me for $5 for gas. So yeah, the quantity is going to be large because men, we are the pursuer. We have to by nature. It's designed that way. Yes, it's very rare that a woman will, be the gutsy one and come and talk to you, unless they talking to you through a friend or something like that. And that's kind of the whole. It don't happen all the time. Even that itself is rare, and that's why with dating the dating websites and stuff like that, women swipe a lot more than men. Men say yeah to a lot of them. Be like, oh, she all right, ooh, check mark. Oh yeah, check. And know good and well this ain't really what you're looking for. You just saying because it's like
And then that's why
I
they
don't
be
want to
right back
miss.
out there
Right,
again.
because I don't want to miss an opportunity.
Hmm.
I might be saying no to the future Mrs. Such and Such, but it's like, okay, dude, slow down. Because after you done read her profile, even if her profile ain't really what that's appealing, if you just looking at her and just saying, okay, that's enough for me, you end up you might not be a match, may not even be a match, and you sat there and wasting your time. Whereas women are like, next, 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 next. So it's good to be in that area. When you're being hit on, it's okay to be picky.
It's
I
okay to be
I see
selective.
nothing wrong with being selective at that point.
Hmm. Well, we enjoyed this conversation today, guys. Continue, like I said, to keep those questions coming in. That was a really good question. I thought it was kind of funny too when I read it, but keep those questions coming in. Like I said, I have some fun things to announce. We are, growing and want to continue to grow. So we're going to be constantly looking for ways that we can reach more listeners. And so one of the things that we've done is we are now available dun, 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 on Spotify. So if you want to stream on Spotify, and you don't want to, go directly to YouTube or something like that, because maybe you're driving or you want to be able to listen to the podcast. A lot of people have shared with us that they listen to our podcast on the way to work and things like that. So we will now be on Spotify. We're going to put that link when on our advertisement when we advertise. So just look for that link. But yeah, we are on Spotify. We're excited about that. Also, if we are on social media. In the beginning of the intro of these videos, we always have our social media um, sites and our tag names and things like that. That's actually in the beginning of the video, so you can always catch us on there. But we also have a email set up too if you just want to send us an email over, and that email address is the Real Housewife of Texas 1 at gmail.com. So again, the Real Housewife of Texas 1 at gmail.com, and capitalize the T. But yeah, keep those questions coming and keep listening. Like, comment, and share on these videos, guys. Share it with your friends. Tell them all about it. We want, everybody to join the conversation. Leave us, again, comments and things like that. Let us know what you like about it. Let us know what you think should be, should change. If you have suggestions, let us know about that. But we thank you guys for listeners, everybody that's subscribed so far. Thank you so much. Again, tell your friends about it so they can become subscribers too. That way they know when that we have a video that drops. And we are doing these episodes every 2 weeks, because that gives us plenty of time to gather questions and, come up with our topics and stuff like that and pick which ones we want to talk about. So, that's kind of how they're rolling out. We're trying to see which day is the best day to drop it. So, right now we're thinking that, Sundays are going to be the best day. So every 2 weeks on Sunday morning is when we'll drop these videos. But again, just keep listening, guys. Thank you so much for listening today, and peace be with you.